All right, it's 7 o'clock. We are going to start the February 25th, 2005 meeting of the Whitley County Board of Zoning Appeals. Can we have roll call, please?
Absolutely, sir. Jack Green.
Here.
Kelly Sheese.
Here.
Danny Wilkinson.
Here.
Doug Wright. Here. Joe Wolf.
Here. We do not have the minutes for tonight from the previous meeting. They will be ready the next meeting. Next on the agenda will be the oath to the witnesses.
If you plan on speaking tonight, if you'd stand and raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm that any statement you make tonight will be the truth? If so, say I do. I do. Thank you.
Okay. So, seeing that there's no old business, we'll move on to new business, and we'll go over how we will run the meeting. We will read your petition and that, and then we will have the staff give its report on your petition. And then the petitioner or representative of can come and address the board. Please give your name and your address. And then we will open up public comment. And if there's no public comment, then it will go back to the board and we will make our decision. So, okay, we will start with the first item on the agenda. 25 W Variance -4, James and Joyce Webb. The petitioner, owner of the subject property, is requesting a development standard variance for a reduced minimum lot width for a proposed subdivision plat on the property located at 5144 West State Road 14. 114, thank you, Doug. In the southern section 35 of Cleveland Township. The property is currently improved with a home business and outbuildings. The property is split zoned with the easternmost 1 acre zone general commercial. Staff, report please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So going to the staff presentation. There we go. So this is located down on State Road 114 in the second section 35 of Cleveland Township. If you don't remember, Cleveland Township has some sections that are duplicated. At the Plan Commission, we had 2 section 35s, so in different sections. Anyway, this is, as you mentioned, zoned AG agricultural and general commercial. That general commercial zoning came about in the 1980s from a predecessor to the current owner. It's been in use for a automobile business for many years, and it's my current understanding that it's now just personal storage. Petitioner is wishing to split off the house from the former business area, which is mostly but not entirely zone GC. The Plan Commission approved last week the proposed plat that is necessary to do that split with a condition of obtaining variances. The variances needed are shown there in the bold on the table. Both relate to Lot 1, which is the AG zone portion with the house on it. The minimum acreage of 1.684 does not meet the minimum 1.837. And then the side setback between the house and the new property line is only 17.1 feet instead of the 25 feet. The GC side, so Lot 2, is all compliant. And you can see there the differences between what is required for GC and what's required for AG. Review materials or reference materials. This is the aerial view. The house and an outbuilding are there on the left. This is an existing fence. This is the former business, now storage building, and accessory parking and so on. These are staff renderings. Our high school intern is looking to do some 3D rendering in college, and so we've given him some opportunities to explore that skill, and this is one that he did. So just a couple 3D views, oblique views of the property as it currently stands without the trees, so you can more clearly see the buildings, and that fence that is more or less the dividing line between the two lots. The proposed primary plat, again, that did receive primary approval last week at the Plan Commission, and the dividing line follows most but not the entirety of that fence. You'll also note that because State Road 114 is a state road, it actually has a 50-foot wide right-of-way currently, which is not dedicated right-of-way. The properties are described to the center line of the highway. Per platting rules, when you have a subdivision plat come through, we require in most instances, not all, but most instances, a dedication of that right-of-way, which actually removes it from the lot area. And that's important tonight. If we had this, including the right-of-way, there would be no need for the lot area variance. It is entirely due to dedication of the right-of-way. I say entirely. It could be shifted and be made compliant, but that's a couple other factors. Simply, though, if the right-of-way were added in, as I said in the written staff report, we wouldn't be here for the lot area variance. Overlaying the aerial, or excuse me, the plat over the aerial, you can see in the red line there in the middle, I'll zoom in, is where that 17-foot proposed setback is, and that is, again, related to the distance between the existing house and the existing fence that is being used as the location of the dividing line. If it weren't there, most likely this dividing line would be made compliant at 25 feet. However, if they had made it 25 feet with the plat, then this fence would be 8 feet onto lot 1 and no longer being that dividing line that they're setting out to have. So the review criteria, staff doesn't feel like there's any injury to public health, safety, morals, general welfare. There are practical difficulties, definitely for the lot area because of the rule requiring the dedication of right-of-way, causing that reduction in lot area. And to a similar but lesser degree, there is a practical difficulty because of the desire to keep that fence. Could they move that fence? Are there other things that could be done? Yes. but it, in staff's opinion, does create a practical difficulty. And then use and value, there is no visual difference, and there aren't very many neighbors on either side of the county line in the vicinity to be impacted, so if there is any adverse impact, it's not likely to be substantial. So with that, any questions for me?
General commercial.
Yes.
Can you put residence on, can you put a residence on this remaining lot?
You can with a special exception, so they would have to come back to you guys for a special exception.
For a residence or for lot size?
For a residence.
And I believe the petitioner said in the Plan Commission meeting that the offset of the fence, they're going out to State Road 114. You can see in the picture the fingers for the septic system.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. That is another reason for not just dropping the line straight southward, because you can see the fingers for the septic are there.
Any other questions? Seeing none, petitioner, if you would like to come to the podium, state your name and address, and tell us what you'd like to do.
My name is James Webb. The address is 5144 West State Road 114-92. And my wife and I have owned the property since 1989. And we would like to make the split so we could eventually sell the house and the pond section of it and move closer to our son and grandchildren. And move into a place where we don't have quite as much maintenance. But we do want to keep the commercial portion.
Board, any questions of the petitioner? You may have a seat. Thank you very much. Is there anybody here to speak for or against this variance? Seeing none, we will go back to the board. One thing I would ask the board, if we could, in looking at these, can we please have a motion and a second on these and that? So.
I'll make a motion we approve 25W variance 4.
I'd second that.
Motion made by Doug, seconded by Jack to approve 25W variance 4. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? Passes unanimously. So with all the members voting in favor. So you may stay for the rest of the meeting or you may go. Thank you very much. Moving on to our second piece of business is 25 WSE-4. SE stands for special exception. So Benjamin and Katie Wagner, 3750 North Blue Lake Road. Petitioner and owner of subject property is requesting a special exception approval for the modification to a machine shop use previously approved. The property is located at 3750 North Blue Lake Road in section 22 of Smith's Township. The subject property is currently improved by a home and outbuildings. Staff, your report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So going to this one. This is located on Blue Lake Road, 1.5 acres. You probably recall this from a couple of years ago when they came in for the original approval for the machine shop. It's a welding shop, more specifically. What is being proposed is to expand the approved use, which is located in an existing outbuilding, and add a 60 by 40 addition to that building. Doing so, they would have to remove an existing detached garage. Other aspects of the business would remain the same. They just need to have more area for their business. And as you recall, there is nothing particular about amendments. This is treated as a fresh special exception. So even though we have a previous one and we carry forward the recommended conditions, if things have changed and you feel like you need to go into a different direction, you do have that discretion. Because again, this is a fresh special exception. References here, highlighted in blue is the subject site. The red building, red topped, red roofed building back here is where the business use is located. Submitted site plan, the X is over the detached garage that would be removed, and the red square is the indication of where the barn addition will be. Again, approximately a 60 by 40. Oblique view, giving you some perspective. And then our intern also drew up some renderings for this one with trees, and particularly noting how many trees there are on this site. So even with the building addition there, which you can see it is substantially larger than existing, going between the views, there is still a lot of tree cover there, and especially during the summer with leaves on. Going to the suggested conditions, these are pretty much the same as the previous approval or the existing approval. I don't believe I made any changes to what was approved. Notably, there is still a requirement that there would be no outdoor storage of parts or products on the north side of the building. That is the side that is most visible to the nearest neighbor, the adjacent neighbor to the north. So with that, I guess the special exception review criteria, again, as stated in the staff report, everything seems very similar to what's been there. This is an existing building. The addition would be consistent with other outbuildings in the ag area. And as everything is kept inside, there's very little impact on any of these criteria in staff's opinion. Any questions for me at this point?
Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Nathan. If the petitioner would come to the podium, state your name and address, and explain to us what we'd like to do.
Hi, I'm Ben Wagner. Address is 3750 North Blue Lake Road. What I'm wanting to do is remove that detached garage so that I can expand and build that 40 by 60 addition. Right now, I have purchased some equipment and my shop size has shrunk. So I have to use fork trucks and move equipment around so that I can do the work that I'm doing. So it would be really nice to have that expansion. Of that 40 by 60, only 40 by 40 of it is going to be used for shop use. The remaining portion of it would be cold storage, kind of like what I have now. So everything that is in my detached garage right now will go into that cold storage section. So that's about it.
All right, thank you. Board, does anybody have any questions of the petitioner? Seeing none, we'll open the floor to public comment. Is there anybody here to speak for or against this special exception? Seeing none, I will give it back to the board.
I move we approve 25 WSE 4 special exception for Benjamin and Katie Wagner to expand with the conditions 1 through 7 listed.
I'd like to second that one.
Kelly made the motion to approve with the conditions. Jack seconded. Conditions are: number one, special exception is granted for the applicant and is non-transferable without board approval. Special exception is granted as presented. Number three, the operations will not extend beyond the business hours of 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Noise generating work performed outside will be limited to 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Number four, there will be no outdoor storage of parts or products on the north side of the building. Number five, there will be no more than one non-resident employee. Number six, any outdoor lighting will be oriented or shielded to prevent light spillage and or glare onto surrounding properties. And number seven, any signage will conform to the requirements of the code. So, as I said, Kelly made the motion, Jack seconded to approve with the conditions. All those in favor of 25W special exception number 4 signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? Special exception is approved by a vote of 5-0. All members voting in favor. Thank you very much. You may stay or you may go ahead and go. Much appreciated.
Can't believe you're leaving. Bye, you guys. Thanks, Bill.
All right, our last item of business that we have on our agenda, new business, is 25W special exception number 5, Ramond and Angela Emerson, 1321 North Johnson Road. The petitioner, owner of the subject property, is requesting a special exception approval for a telecommunications contractor business, Clausen Communications. The property is located at 1321 North Johnson Road in Section 34 of Smith Township and is currently improved with a dwelling and outbuildings. Staff, your report, please.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. So, going to the report. This is located on North Johnson Road, just south of 150 North in Smith Township. Overall acreage is 10 acres. That is partially bisected by a waterway, but everything that we're dealing with is east of that. The request is a special exception for a telecommunications contractor, which staff has interpreted as being under the electrical supply shop use that is designated in the zoning code. And that is, as I have some lengthy description there in the written staff report, that is based upon prior interpretations that a service contractor, a service-only contractor, is equivalent to the more retail-sounding uses that are listed in the zoning code of electrical supply shop, plumbing supply store, heating and cooling sales and service, and so on. Previous thought has been service-oriented contractors of that type really have equal or lesser impact than a retail operation in the AG agricultural district. So even though it doesn't have a retail component as shop or store may otherwise indicate, this has been interpreted before as being acceptable. Telecommunications specifically is not called out in the zoning code, so it is staff's interpretation that a telecommunications contractor is equivalent and very similar to an electrical contractor. And that's how we got here. Assuming that the board agrees with that interpretation, then what is being proposed is the contractor does building telecom installations. This is not fiber optic installs with trenching and so on. This is running cable inside buildings, everything's of that scale. What they're proposing to do is to remodel approximately 3,300 square feet of an existing barn for the business use. This is a satellite operation of a business located in Greenwood. That would consist of 2 office spaces and warehouse space. The remaining square footage in the barn would be reserved for personal use. Currently, there are 3 full-time employees. There would not be any increase in employees. 2 of them would be mostly off-site. The third, as a supervisor, would be more frequently in the office on this location, but also be in the field at the customer's location much of the time, just less than the other 2. There would be no outdoor storage except for a dumpster. There would be parking provided for employees. It would be gravel parking as proposed. The business vehicle would be parked inside the warehouse area. Again, the idea of not having outdoor storage. Generally, the hours would be kept from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. However, the petitioner did submit that there would be occasional extended hours outside of that, depending on client, customer demands, and other factors, emergency calls out, and so on. Also important to note that there would be no heavy truck deliveries. There would be deliveries, but not semi-trucks, so normal FedEx, UPS, mail deliveries. Any sort of large material needs would be handled by the employees themselves, basically getting the materials from supply shops elsewhere. I believe there are a couple other details within the written staff report that I did not highlight here, but you've had a chance to read that. So going to the reference aerial, highlighted in blue is the subject property. You may, let's see, this is Johnson Road running north and south here. This is 150 north here. This right here is Concord and Old Cemetery, located at the southeast corner of that intersection. Johnson Farms, for what it's worth, is located over this way. Viewpoint, a little closer view, the red roofed barn, just like last time. The red roof barn is the one in question that will be remodeled with this special exception. Oblique view giving you a perspective from the east. Note that there are a lot of trees both along the southern property line and then also out in front. And that will come into the discussion of conditions. This is street view from 2023. I didn't have a chance to go out and take my own photos, but it is a fairly dense scrub tree or wooded area. I'm not sure exactly what level this is. It's not quite woods, but it's not quite scrub, so it's somewhere in between. But definitely provides screening of both the house and the existing outbuilding that's proposed to be remodeled. So going to the the suggested conditions. Number 1 and 2 are pretty standard. Number 3, that the existing woods be maintained for the tendency of the use, that is to screen any sort of the business goings on. I don't think that, that's the purpose. Number 4, that there would be no outside storage of materials, equipment, or business vehicles. Business vehicles, we do allow for business parking, so that one may be a gray area, but again, the petitioner said that the business vehicle would generally be stored inside anyway. Any refuse container, for example, a dumpster, would be located within an enclosure. Even with the screening that the tree line provides, this is a fairly standard condition when we're dealing with dumpsters to have that screening around the dumpster. Nothing else that helps to capture any sort of trash that may blow around. Number 6, standard condition about outdoor lighting. Number 7 is commitment to the hours that were submitted of 7 to 5 with a provision for some occasional additional hours, generally not to exceed 5 instances per month. That would be a few times. Well, a few times per week, once per week plus one. No more than 3 non-resident employees because the petitioner does live on site. This is somewhat overlapping with a home occupation, so that's why the term non-resident comes in. So in case there are more resident employees that come into play. And then finally 9, any signage would conform with the requirements of the code, a restatement of the code. Any questions for me?
Nathan, would it be acceptable on that number 4 to just do there will be no outside storage of materials and equipment and omit the business vehicle? Just, I mean, I know there's other places that their business vehicle sits out or something. I'd hate for them to feel restricted that if they needed to keep it parked outside, they couldn't.
The only thing that I would feel might be a problem with striking it off entirely is if there were any heavy equipment that could be a vehicle. So that's why I'd put it in there in the thought of a trencher or something like that, which is not their current plan. So currently should not be an issue. It was
But that would fall under equipment, wouldn't it?
It could.
Okay.
It could. Again, it's how do we
I'm not
interpret
trying
this?
I just don't want them to feel like, they forgot to put the vehicle in and oh my God, we're going to get in trouble.
Right. Yeah. And I don't want to be there either. So if you feel like that is more apt to be interpreted in a negative fashion, then if you feel comfortable, then by all means take it out.
Thank you.
Anything else, board? Okay, thank you, Nathan. Raymond, if you'd like to come up and give your name and address and tell us what you'd like to do.
Raymond Emerson, 1321 North Johnson Road. Basically what we do now is we rent a small warehouse in Fort Wayne. My company's given me the option to go home and work. Basically what we do is low voltage cabling, computer cabling, fiber optics. We do a lot of work for Parkview, Chase. So I would have 2 techs come in the morning. They would pick the van up. We just got a regular Ford van, nothing big. They would pick the van up. They would go out and do their work orders and come back at the end of the day, pick their cars up and go home. Occasionally we do Chase work or the hospital work that we do have. They would be there later, but all it would be was their cars there. The van would stay in the building at all times. I do have a company car, which I park up at the house, but if I have that, I will probably park down there a lot too. We have no equipment that goes outside. Basically, no heavy trucks. Anything that I get, I go to Gray Bar and do will call or Fastenal. It's basically inside. We would keep some cabling, some fiber optics. No big trucks coming in or out. We wouldn't be doing any trenching or anything like that. If we do trenching up here, we normally sub it out. So there will be no equipment setting out.
Okay. Well, thank you. Board, any questions of the petitioner? Okay, thank you much. I feel a little bit futile saying the open public comment,
Just
but
when you don't, you have.
is there anybody for or against? Seeing nobody, we'll move on. So, board, give it back to you, and
I move we
Where's your
approve 25 WSC 5 special exception for Raymond and Angela Emerson for approval of a telecommunications contractor business with the suggested conditions 1 through 9 approved. I would like to revise number 4 to omit the business vehicle and just have there will be no outdoor storage of materials and equipment.
I would second that.
okay. Kelly's made the motion. Jack has seconded it. So with the 9 conditions, they are, the special exception is granted for the applicant and is non-transferable without board approval. Special exception is granted as presented. Existing wood, number 3, the existing woods between the business operation and the road be maintained for the tenancy of the use. Number 4, there will be no outside storage of materials or equipment. Number 5, the exterior refuge container will be located within an enclosure. Number 6, any outdoor lighting will be oriented or shielded to prevent light spillage and or glare onto surrounding properties. Number 7, regular hours of operation are limited to 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays. Occasional off hours businesses hours may be acceptable, generally not to exceed 5 instances per month. There will be no more than 3 non-resident employees, and any signage will conform to the requirements of the code.
There won't be any signage at all.
Okay. All right, thank you. We'll go ahead. We have a motion to approve with the conditions. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Or all those opposed? Passes unanimously. So
You're just mixing things up, aren't you, Joe?
I like it.
you just never know what I'll do.
I like it.
So,
Keeps
like
us on
it.
our toes.
so all right, thank you. So, okay.
Anything else for me?
Just your love and admiration. I'll get with you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, that concludes our new business. Is there any other business, staff?
Nope. We have a couple things already filed for next month, so anticipate that. And then don't forget, March has got the first training session at the end of the month as well. So
Where's that gonna be?
it should be here. So we're not having only 3. I don't think we'll be floating around like we did last year.
I know there at the Plan Commission, we read through the ordinance for shooting ranges. Will we be seeing that anytime soon, or?
That is one that may be filed for March for a special exception. We're not entirely certain whether the petitioner is going to wait until the code, assuming it's adopted, is fully adopted, or whether he'll file contingent on its adoption. The shooting range code is going to be before the commissioners on the 17th. It's not going to be at the first meeting in March, because one of them is going to be out of town. I'm not sure exactly, but out of town. And they definitely wanted all 3 of them there for that code and to take action on it. So it'll be on the 17th. Presumably they'll take action then, but I don't know for sure. And if so, it'll still be before your meeting in March. But if for some reason things get delayed, then that would, any files for the March meeting, it would have to get delayed till April anyway. So kind of a toss up to him. It saves him a month if everything works out. Doesn't really cost him anything. So it's kind of up to him now how much risk he wants to take on.
So to answer your question, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. In terms the gist of the code, you guys can you'll get copies of the final version, but essentially outdoor shooting ranges in AG are the most likely cases like this one that you will see. Outdoor ranges in AG would be special exceptions, and there are a list of things in the code that the board has to look at. So things like hours of operation, for example, have to be looked at as criteria. It's left open-ended because every location is different, but it is stuff that has to be included. There are certain things that are construction details that we'll review administratively, and some things that are, again, left open, a little open-ended, again, site dependent. So a little bit more guidance than some special exceptions that we see. Confined feeding operations, for example, there are no specific construction standards. There are development standards, but construction standards. or machine shops, contractor shops. Those are all very much open-ended. So
Well, in confined feeding operations, you have construction standards, but they're through IDMs.
right, yeah, not that you guys look at, you defer it. So very good point. So this would be incorporating into your review then those standards. So a little bit of heavy lifting, but I also don't anticipate a lot of shooting ranges coming through. Indoor shooting ranges are generally permitted uses in commercial and industrial areas. So there are special exceptions in a handful of other locations. Probably not going to see many of those. This would just be a few here and there as they come forward, but may not see another two. I don't know. We really truly don't have that many in the county.
So your proposed regulations hasn't detoured this possible petitioner, right?
Can't tell you that for sure yet.
So
right.
Oh, you're not sure. He's even gonna.
Well, it depends on the conditions.
He already knows pretty well.
Yeah, the code itself has. He's weighing whether to file the special exception.
All the billing and all that stuff.
Yeah, with what he's going to
It's
have
gonna cost
Yeah.
some good money, probably.
Yeah.
With all this embankment and the shield and all that.
Yeah. For the most part, the big thing is the required baffling and the backstop, which are constructed. And that was not something he had anticipated. The berms, the extra dirt there, he said he had kind of planned on that and then wound up not doing one. So for him to go back to the original plan wasn't a huge deal. But new and different were the baffles and the covered backstop. Yes, that is more expense that he was not anticipating. So, and then what else did we have? Usual stuff, right?
Yeah, variance.
Yeah. Okay. More of the same. So just
Nothing real crazy.
permit wise, we are way off. We're kind of on the low side, year to date, in terms of permits, but in terms of petitions, we're the opposite. We're very high, actually. Right now, number of petitions filed, both Plan Commission and BZA, we're at the high end year to date. So we're not sitting around doing nothing, and you guys won't be either.
They're not building stuff, but they're wanting to do stuff they're not supposed to do.
And we gotta be the policeman and say yes or no.
Right on. Yep. I would like to. I just thought about it when Kelly had said something. This is Nathan Lundy. He is an attorney. He works with Liz. Liz has had a couple Plan Commission meetings and stuff that she's kiddo responsibilities and at a swim meet. So Nathan is filling in her absence. So.
And I apparently didn't get the message on the dress code either.
I need to change my name. So.
All right.
What's the dress code? Shirt and ties?
Not bright
White.
orange.
Oh.
Well, if there's nothing else from the board, we will stand adjourned.